Okay, go ahead, ma'am. What is your relationship to the victims? Or
I'm his oldest daughter.
okay, go ahead.
The things on that day, I heard, the first I knew it, I heard my sister. I answered the phone and I heard my sister's crying. She was telling me the tree hit my house, hit their house, and hit my dad. And it was just awful to hear. And then later when I drove out here, I drove out of state, I drove out and saw my dad in the hospital. And I heard him yelling in horrific pain anytime anybody moved in the least bit to reposition him when he was in his first ortho cat. It was awful to hear. At that point, you were nowhere to be seen, except I saw you on Facebook. I saw you bragging about your poor cruise that you had, and you had for, let's keep making this money, boys. And I saw some of your other workers, they had fan outs of cash, and one of the pictures of the fan outs of cash was from a day that it would have been my dad's. I saw that money. And then I saw my dad in a hospital bed, or a rehab bed for months after that. First he had to learn how to live again, because he was very difficult at first. He was in serious condition, and then he had to learn to be able to walk. And my sister saw the huge tree fall when this happened. She was at the house, and she saw this thing coming at her. And at that time, her husband was there. He ran, and she didn't know he was even hit at first. And part of me wishes that your son's name you did have to watch a virtual reality of a big tree falling at you. I was at their house, and I laid down in the stump of the tree. The diameter of that tree is larger than I am tall. And I just can't believe he couldn't just stop and listen. Top the stupid thing, tie it off, wedge it properly, cut it in the proper direction. It's never would have happened. That tree hit our whole family. My brother-in-law and sister have had my mom in the house when the house wasn't preferable. And my dad there afterwards, when he was out of the rehab, it was a bigger size, it was able to walk around. But they put their lives on hold. Nieces and nephews, our whole family lost holidays and Christmases, which is nothing. I'm glad we can still get together for them. And I'm grateful for the prosecutor for addressing this. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to be able to speak. I don't know if it means anything, but it makes me feel better. And most of all, I'm glad that my dad's alive and he's able to be in here with a walker to be able to look at you when you get sentenced. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If you could just state your name.
Lori Creek, C-R-E-Q-E. I'm George's youngest daughter. I'm glad I'm here today to finally see you, Corey. Everybody has a choice, and I have a choice to say what I'm going to today. And I've thought all about what I might want to say, but you had a choice in what you presented to my father. You presented a contract that said that it was licensed, bonded, and insured, that your company represented something that was trustworthy and reliable. My gut told me I need to be there because anybody can say those things. And I chose to have my phone available that day because my gut told me something could go wrong. And luckily, I was watching and feeling. And when that tree, that darkness came toward the house and slowly crashing, you have no idea what it's like to live through. You know, you always hear when something tragic happens, you know, you see your life happening in front of you. And that was happening so slowly. And I have to choose to ignore that memory. I have to choose to ignore those sounds. I have to choose to look at trees differently now because they're scary to me. nature's not as pretty as it used to be because of what you allowed to happen. You represent something that's alive. And I chose to have my phone, which let people get there in time to save my dad. Because the way you instruct your crews, they're leaving their vehicles running so that they can exit just in case something happens. And I can tell you choose people that are weak, because then you can supply something for them and give them something that's going to fuel you. You take away from other people. And because of your lies, my dad chose to hire a company. You said you were licensed, you said you were bonded, you said you were insured. Today, my dad would not be approachable because he can't cut the grass anymore. He doesn't have the freedom to walk. You took that freedom away, and I believe your freedom should be lost too. Our lives are forever changed. And I choose to go forward. My dad chose to live, he chose to fight, and we all have choices to make. And I'm so happy that the prosecutor has chosen to follow through and hold you accountable. And I'm thankful that Barberton Tree chose to finish the job that you never did. So we all have choices, and you need to live with your choices. I don't think there should be any shortcuts.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Howard, is there anything you would like to say prior to sentencing?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm sitting here listening to all of them, downgrade me. I'm not the one to deal with this. I didn't know they was doing this. I wasn't there. I didn't know, I had no knowledge. They was there doing this. I would have never allowed that to happen. I messed up. I got workers, that I thought I could trust, but I couldn't trust. I see now. I never told this man I had a license. I never once told him I had insurance or anything like that. I was never there. I never collected no money from this man. I never spoke to him on the phone. I never seen him personally at his house. And I feel like I'm the only one up here paying for this, just because I'm the owner. And I don't think that's right. I just don't. I do apologize for what happened to the man. I do. I seriously do. And I'll pay him back whatever he deserves. And there's a lot I can't pay back, but I will pay for whatever he needs. And I feel like I'm the only one getting shafted here. What about the person that talked to me? What about the person that dropped a tree in his house? I don't see him standing here. I'm standing here because I'm owner. And I understand I do step up my responsibilities. That's why I came to every court day. That's why I choose not to run. I choose not to hide from the situation because it needs to be dealt with. Now, if I get some time for it, that's my responsibility. I got a kid in the way. I feel like I'm the only one here paying for this. And I never lied to this man not one time because I never spoke to him not one time. They say I lied to him. They said I had insurance. I never told him that because I never spoke to the man. I never knew they was doing this job. I was in town getting insurance at this time. And I could verify that. I didn't even know they was outside cutting me, my money. They was like cutting my family because they chose to go out by themselves and do I didn't know none of this happened until I started getting all the calls. And y'all, I got scared. My first time knowing the business, I just got scared. I freaked out. And I do apologize to him, I really do. And like I said, I will do whatever it takes, to help, heal the pain. I really can, because he's very hurt, and I understand it. But I will help. I will pay him back whatever. I'll help him get his house back up. I'll help him do whatever he needs. I just don't want to be locked up for my first child.
Court has considered the plea negotiations, the pre-sentence investigations, statements of counsel on the defendant, as well as the victims here in the court this morning. Based upon the facts and circumstances of the case, in consideration of the relevant sentencing factors and applying the minimum sanction the court has determined will protect the public and punish the offender without imposing an unnecessary burden on state or local resources. Mr. Howard, you say, you're the only one standing here. Well, you are the owner and you are responsible. Frankly, we have not just Mr. Homa, but an additional victim, and I don't believe that you didn't know what your workers were doing that day. But even if you didn't, any decent human being would have been there trying to help in any way that they could following this accident, if not with Mr. Homa's injuries, at least with the property damage and with the cleanup and the aftermath of this. Instead, you were running around lying and trying to cover up your tracks. And while there is a presumption of probation on an F4 case, I believe that this is egregious conduct that does require and does deserve some incarceration. On count 1 of the indictment, the court would impose a sentence of 18 months incarceration for the crime of theft from a person in a protected class, a felony of the 4th degree. On count 7 of the indictment, the court would also impose a sentence of 18 months incarceration for the crime of failure to remit state of Ohio sales taxes, a felony of the 4th degree. On count 3 of the indictment, the court would impose 6 months in the Summit County Jail for the crime of falsification, a minor misdemeanor. On the 5th count of the indictment, operating without a vendor's license, the court would impose a $150 fine for that minor misdemeanor. And on count 8, the court would impose a sentence of 30 days in the Summit County Jail for the crime of prohibitions upon license suspension related to vendors or transient vendors' licenses. That is a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. All of that incarceration time to be served concurrently for a total of 18 months incarceration. As we discussed when I took your plea, you may also be subject to up to a 3-year period of post-release control as part of your sentence following your release from prison. If that period of post-release control is imposed and if you violate any conditions of that supervision, the parole board may impose a prison sentence as part of your sentence of up to 1/2 of your stated prison term. If while on post-release control you would be convicted of a new felony, in addition to being punished for the new offense, an additional prison term of 1 year or whatever time remains on your post-release control term may be added as an additional consecutive penalty. I impose the fine on the minor misdemeanor. I'm not going to impose any additional fines. I will order restitution in the amount of $3,000 to George Homa and in the amount of $3,500 to Mr. Tom Cullen. In addition, judgment will be rendered against you for court costs. You will be given the opportunity to pay those costs on a payment schedule, and if you're not able to do so on a timely basis, you could be ordered to do community service in order to satisfy the cost judgment. 2 days credit for time already served in the Summit County Jail. Anything further for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Court is in recess. Thank you.